Are your patients recording your visits without your knowledge? Or what to do if a patient asks to record your visit, and is that a big risk for you in your practice? So let's dive into that and the things you need to consider and some alternatives to offer if having a recording is not your favorite way of engaging in the patient-provider relationship. Hey, I'm Scott Radigan, founder of Functional Lawyer, and if you like videos like this, make sure you subscribe and we'll see you in future videos. But let's jump right into it. There have been a lot of lawsuits about accidental recording when someone goes in for a surgery and the people are making fun of them or making jokes about them in the surgical OR. So don't do that because you never know. We're all walking around with recording devices in our pockets 99% of the time. So um, let's get clear on what the laws are and what you can actually do to help reduce your risk if you're worried about this type of risk. Um, Most of the times, people in functional medicine visits, especially longer visits, are really just trying to record because it's so much information, it's hard for them to absorb it all, retain it, and then explain it or recall it later. So most of the time, they really just want to, you know, take notes and really absorb everything you're saying. But I understand the hesitation for providers to want to say something in a visit where a patient could take it, alter the recording, post it online wherever they want, and then say, this person is saying all these bad things and it's not medically accurate and all of that stuff. So what can you do? What are the rules around it? And how can you balance this for your patients? So um, is it legal for them to record without your knowledge? Yeah, in most states, it actually is legal. There are what are called one-party consent states, and that's most of the US. But then there are two-party, which should more accurately be called all-party consent states for recording any kind of conversations, but in our context, medical visits. And so those states that are two-party states or all-party states are California, Connecticut, Florida, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Montana, New Hampshire, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Washington state. In those states, all parties have to be informed that the conversation is being recorded, so they must ask or tell you. If they don't, it's illegal. But um, let's talk about HIPAA for a second. Isn't recording medical visits a HIPAA violation? Not if it's the patient. So HIPAA protects patients from having their own PHI or protected health information disclosed to anyone without their permission, but they can share their own PHI anywhere they want, as we sometimes see. You can't demand that your office visits remain confidential. However, if you do let them record the visit and the recording picks up any conversations, maybe through the walls or through somebody in the hallway, that could be an area for HIPAA violation or risk for you. So just keep that in mind as well, even if you do allow the patient to record some or all of the visit. So what can you do to manage office visit recordings before they manage you? Here are a few suggestions, and I'll give you a tip from my wife and how she handled this in her practice towards the end as well. So first, just assume that everything you're saying in your appointment is being recorded. That way you'll make sure to choose your words carefully. If that prevents you from practicing the way you like, then there are some other options as well. If they ask to record the office visit and you're okay with it, you can always just say yes. But if you're not okay with them recording the entire 60 or 90 minutes or all of that, allow them to record maybe a summary of instructions at the end of the visit or just particular parts where you're explaining how certain labs are tied into why they're doing what they're doing in your protocols. So they can record portions of it as the necessary parts. If you feel like having recording in your devices in your office that are not managed by you might lead to other violations under HIPAA, you can give them a notepad and a pen to take notes, or you can hire a HIPAA compliant transcribing company and give your patient transcripts of the visits. If you're worried that unofficial recordings from patients may be taken out of context or altered, you can record the visits yourself and then offer the recording to your patient. If you do this, make sure that the recording software you use and where you store the files are both HIPAA compliant, of course. And then if you know that you're being recorded, You can always ask the patient to repeat back to you what you've said and then correct any misunderstandings they might have. We all know that you're speaking in very nuanced language, much like lawyers do, and much like any professional does, have very nuanced. If this, then this, but if this, then that is a very common thing for attorneys, anyways. And so not everybody gets all of the words correct or interprets them the way you intended. So asking them to repeat back to you the what you said and the why you said it will improve both misunderstandings and any kind of compliance issues you might have from a patient misunderstanding you. So one of the ways that my wife handled it in her practice was to do what we said earlier, allow them to record just portions that we thought or they thought together were important for them to kind of have instructions on what to do and what to eat and when. If you're worried about any kind of recordings being altered, you can record it in your practice, making sure that those recordings are both recorded and stored and forwarded or transmitted to the patient in HIPAA compliant ways. So that's how maybe you might suggest handling recording a visit in your office. If you have other tips or suggestions, make sure you comment below, and we'll see you guys in the next video.